Okay, it's 6 o'clock. I'd like to call the order of the regular meeting of the Plainfield Charter Township Board of Trustees to order for December 15th, 2025. Supervisor Coleman is absent tonight, so I need a motion for President Pro Tem.
Make a motion, we have Susan Morrow as President Pro Tem for this evening.
Need a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All
Aye.
opposed?
Sorry, Steve.
Okay,
A little late.
motion carried.
I might break into the candy before the meeting's over.
We'll begin our meeting with the invocation and then the Pledge of Allegiance led by our clerk, Steve McKellar.
Let's pray. We gather today seeking your guidance and wisdom. May our deliberations be marked by fairness, compassion, and a commitment for a common good. Through the Holy Spirit, lead us in our discussions and decisions. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll open the floor for public comments, and the following are the rules for public comments. The comments will be limited to 3 minutes. There's a countdown clock on both screens for you to check your time, and when your time is up, I'll inform you. No individual may speak more than once. Public comments are not a question and answer period. Please be respectful. No abusive or obscene or irrelevant comments will be allowed. If you wish to make a comment, please remain seated, raise your hand, and I will acknowledge you for when it's your turn. Before making any comments, you will need to state your name and address for the record. Are there any people with desire to speak under public comments? Why don't you come up? Is his microphone on?
Check that. Whack it, test it. It is. Gerald Stepanovich, 4666 Weber. Just a couple things since the last time I was here. We had a couple delays, I think, because of the Thanksgiving holiday and so forth. And I also travel out of town for work. So I'm just going to touch on a few objects here, or a few topics here, and we'll just make my voice heard, I guess. So we're looking at what we spent on Plainfield Avenue, $4 million to reimagine Plainfield Avenue that no one really wanted. We shut out businesses for access, left turn lanes, both going north and southbound. The curbs are being destroyed by plow trucks, citizens' vehicles, and there's chunks missing in various spots that I've witnessed, and we have many vehicles that get hung up on these medians in these storms that we've had, and they certainly are not plowing them very well, and the result of that is massive unnecessary damage to personal vehicles. That's one topic that concerns me. The second topic is the whole water issue that is going on out here. I believe one of you made mention last month that we had some issues with looking for water, and so forth, and one of the trustees made a comment about how much water they did use, and I just find that pretty abhorrent that he used excessive water on his landscape, and he paid for it, which is great, but good stewards don't use excessive amounts of water when we have a system already under stress, and just for the vanity of keeping a green landscape. I ran golf courses for 25 years, and 55,000 gallons over 3 months is quite excessive in a residential area. And speaking of the water department, just where are the reports from Preen and Newhoff? Where are they looking for water? Where are the said reports? And finding these, I believe, should be made public without having to go in for a FOIA request. And that should be available here, and I would believe even at the KDL library on 5 Mile, where the public can peruse them at their free will without having to come into the office to request a FOIA request and the fees that may be assessed with that. And then also the other thing that concerns me is I have to sign up on the website to get the agenda. Now, we have a Facebook page and we have a township web page, and I would assume there's an administrator of this Facebook page and the township website. Why can that not be printed, or not printed, but publicized the week before the meetings are held and what the agenda might be? Where I don't feel at 60 years old that I need to go through a website and sign up something with the danger of the websites as it is already. I should, if I'm looking at your Facebook page, I should have a township Facebook page. I should have access to that, you know. And then the other thing I know it's on the agenda tonight is I believe it's a merit raise for the township supervisor. And doing a little research that I've done, it's $64,000 to $73,000 is the average.
Your 3 minutes are up. Please finish your sentence.
Is the average salary for a county commissioner, and or a supervisor. I don't believe that I think $174,000 is a bit excessive. With that, I'll yield. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to make a comment tonight? You can come up to the microphone.
Wayne Gallant, 4160 Miramar. In my duties of working through the township part-time, I'd like to have the township consider the ordinance that the city of Rockford apparently initiated this last year for the hanging up of garage sale signs. I think they had a good idea. It was something new that they put out, and it would enforce the individuals who put their signs up to have them removed without penalty. And if they don't do it within the allotted time zone, they do get penalized. And it's enforced through their police force. So that would sure make my job easier. But it does eliminate the clutter that goes around through the township. So that's all.
Thank you. We appreciate your suggestion. Anyone else?
James Sykema, 6339 Boulder Ridge. Two things. The first gentleman mentioned a newsletter and signing up for the agenda. I'd like to put out there that as a board, you should hold your staff to a higher standard. There was 2 different times in the November newsletter that the Board of Trustees meeting for December was published for December 8th. Clearly, it was not on December 8th. Mistakes happen, but to have it twice on a newsletter, I think is a failure. I also subscribed for the Planning Commission, and I got an email on December 1st that the Planning Commission meeting was canceled, but yet on the December 4th newsletter from Plainfield Township and your staff, it was labeled as the Planning Commission meeting would take place on December 9th at 6:30 p.m. Again, you might think that's simple mistakes, but repeatedly 3 times in the last month, that's a mistake and should be addressed because we should be able to hold people accountable for that. The other thing I'd like to mention is 2 months ago, the supervisor didn't, or the supervisor pro temp didn't mention it today or in the rules, but 2 months ago, Mr. Coleman was here. He said, hey, this isn't a question and answer session. If you have a question, email us and we'll get a response to you in a decent amount of time. So I did that. I wrote the board a memo, and I did get a response back from the superintendent that said, hey, the attorneys are coming in and they'll talk about it. But since then, the Planning Commission had 2 meetings canceled, and the board has had a meeting on the agenda and has had no speaking of what I wrote an email about, but evidently must have been somewhat on point because the was called in and wrote a opinion about it. So if we're into transparency of this township, I don't understand how you can be comfortable doing that, saying, hey, we have concerns that originated from a public hearing and something that's on record at the township, but yet we're not going to talk about it in front of the public. I think that's sad, and I think we should do that, especially for somebody that describes themselves to me on the board as a FOIA king. To then not be transparent is disrespectful to all the citizens. So, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak under public comments? Okay, we're going to close the floor for public comments. And the next item is the review of the consent agenda. Without any issues from the board, I seek a motion for the approval of the agenda, including the consent agenda and the accounts payable.
I would make a motion that we accept the consent agenda
And the
and the
consent,
accounts payable.
thank you. Is there support?
Support.
Support from Pfaff. And a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Pfaff,
Yes.
Mr. Emminga? Yes. Ms. Beatty?
Yes.
Mr. Hagedorn?
Yes.
Mrs. Morrow?
Yes,
Mr. McKellar, yes.
thank you. And moving on to new business. The first subject for new business is to consider some changes in the township cemetery ordinance. Is there anyone, would you like to talk to us first?
Thank you, Sue. So we've been approached by a resident who's with us tonight and like to address the board on this issue. It's been a number of years since we've changed the cemetery ordinance, but there's a request to allow different types of burials than we allow today, particularly green burials. And so we'll talk a little bit about what a green burial is. In its most basic form, the term means a type of burial that is a little bit more environmentally friendly than today's traditional concrete vault with usually a full casket and embalming fluid and all of that. It gets much more nuanced beyond that. I mean, one green burial to one person might mean something to someone else, but that's kind of the basic. It's a more environmentally friendly approach to a burial. But as we go beyond that, it requires some understanding too of how did we get to where we are today. And if you look at particularly our Plainfield cemetery, actually both cemeteries have plots in there that go back well over a century, and you definitely have plots in there that do not have concrete vaults. And so it's not a unique circumstance to our cemeteries because of the age of our cemeteries to have a plot that doesn't have a concrete vault. It's that, to my knowledge, as we've worked through this issue, we've learned that was something that became more standard in the 1960s. So it's relatively new in terms of cemetery management when you have a cemetery as old as these are to have a requirement like a concrete vault. And so as we look at that, we have some philosophical issues to address. Is this something that the board is interested in entertaining? And if so, to what degree? And then there's some operational considerations as well. There are things that concrete vaults do that actually help our staff when they're burying not necessarily that individual, but the one next over. It holds things in place, and so there's things too from an operational standpoint. We've asked our staff to study this issue and look at the pros and cons. When you have a cemetery plot that's locked into a concrete vault, it is very stabilized. If you have loose soils and you have loose remains, there's the possibility of remains shifting. So that's something that operationally we want to look at too. So I guess where I'm going with that is we're not going to recommend the board approve anything that we cannot operationally handle, right? So we want to make sure that our staff feels comfortable meeting the needs of our residents. If there's a request to do a green burial, that we can actually accomplish that in a way that is protective of the other remains that are already in the cemetery, in a way that's respectful to the families or to the individuals that are making the requests. So We believe we can achieve that. We do have a little bit more research to do on exactly what procedures to follow to make sure that we've accomplished that. That's kind of a high-level look at this. Basically, what I'm bringing to you tonight, we have an interest from a resident to take a look at this. I wanted to have an introductory conversation tonight, and if there's interest from the board in continuing this down this path, then we'll bring back ordinance language for the board to consider. And as a reminder, this is a regulatory ordinance of the township, which in the charter township requires a first reading and a second reading. So there won't be a vote on making a change tonight. It would be a discussion, direction back to staff to say, yes, please bring us ordinance language, in which case there'll be 2 more steps to follow. So there'll be a first reading. So we'd put it on the agenda, make sure that everyone's aware of what the ordinance change would be to allow that, or whatever the change may be. And then at a following meeting, there has to be a second reading of it. So it will have gone through a publication notice, and then it'll be up for a vote. So we've got a little bit of process ahead of us if there's an interest in making a change. But this is the first step tonight. Part of it too, we recognize how sensitive an issue of a cemetery is to a lot of people. And so we want to handle this with care and with respect, and take our time with it, not make it appear to anyone that we're rushing through this issue. So putting it out there for discussion tonight. We do have Resident Art Spalding with us tonight, who's brought this topic forward and would like to address the board on why he's interested in the township doing that. So if you're comfortable, I'd like to have Art come up and talk to his request.
Are you ready to talk to us about it? Thank you.
You have to ask Art if he's ready to talk.
Art, oh,
Thank you, Mrs. Morrow. I've been ready for a long time,
I bet you have.
and I appreciate all the work that Cameron has done in response to my request that consideration be given to modifying the township ordinances to allow a green burial. Both my wife and I are cognizant of the environment, and some of you may be aware that in 1999, we conveyed a conservation easement over 20 acres of our property that has 3,000 feet of frontage on the Rogue River. Someday that'll be a virgin forest, but today it's just an old timbered forest. One of the things that you may have observed over the course of the last few years is the increasing number of cremations. And part of the reason for that, I believe, is because of the expense of an ordinary burial. When you take into account the copper and steel that goes into a casket and the cost of putting in a concrete vault, you can easily run up $10,000. And so people have found that cremation is an alternative to that. The processing of copper and steel for caskets and processing of concrete for concrete is not a particularly environmentally hasty subject. And so the question is, how do we address that? It's interesting that the township ordinance as it's currently drafted has no language concerning burial in a casket. And there's no state law that requires burial in a casket. So in a sense, one can already bury a person absent a casket in Plainfield cemeteries. In addition to that, the requirement for a vault that is in our current ordinance does not specify what the material it should be. And so a wooden vault would seem to be allowed. So voila, we have a wooden coffin and we have a green burial already under the existing ordinance. I don't think that's what was intended. I don't think the language is sufficiently clear to make that an opportunity. But I think it's something that we need to give some consideration to in looking at what a green burial might be. And green burials, a pure green burial is a burial in a shroud on a board and lowered into the grave and covered with dirt. We have, as Cameron has mentioned, undoubtedly many burials in Plainfield and Oakwood cemeteries in wood caskets from years ago. The whole process of embalming a body, burying in a metal casket, putting them inside a vault is not only expensive, it has a, when you add up all the people that happens to, it's quite an impact on the environment. And so one small step, I guess, is what we're asking for here.
Thank you.
Well, I wasn't quite finished,
I'm
but
sorry.
that's okay. I have personally been looking at the issue of green burials. Some time ago, I did forward to Cameron a number of articles about green burial, and if he doesn't still have those around, I can provide them again. And he may want to make them available to board members so that they can get a better feel for the whole concept. I know that Cameron has expressed concern about maintaining the integrity of a grave so that you don't have collapse around it. And I think that's, to a certain extent, not a serious problem. First of all, a grave with backfill can be compacted and made more stable in that fashion, not requiring a vault. Also keep in mind that graves are only 4 feet apart, and by the time you add 3 feet wide for a casket, there's not much room between grave sites to begin with in terms of trying to be concerned about how stable the soil is in between, because there isn't much more than a foot of soil in any event. So in the digging of a second grave, I don't know what the staff experience has been, but I don't think there's a likelihood that there will never be a cave-in on the side of another grave because of that. So my concern is personally an environmental one, and secondarily a cost one. And I think both of those factors dictate the availability of someone to, if not going to the full extent of a shroud burial, at least to permit a burial in a biodegradable coffin without a vault, without a concrete vault. And as we all know, there are a lot of burials in our cemeteries already that have been done in that fashion. And so it's not something new for these cemeteries. So I would encourage the conversation, and if there's more involvement that you want me to have, I'd be happy to be involved in any way possible. I encourage you to support some amendments to the ordinance to allow some form of green burial. Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience who would like to make comments on this subject? Then we'll move back to the board. Frank already indicated that he had done some homework. Would you like to share that with us?
Yeah, when I heard this was coming up, I tried to do as much homework as possible. I didn't get all of it done, but up into the 1800s, most of the burials were done this way.
Microphone on.
I'm sorry, yeah, it is. Yeah, most burials were done this way. And like Art was saying, environmentally, it's better. I did look up migration, possibility of migration of remains. It doesn't seem to be a situation in the states that I looked up. There are several states that have been doing it for 30, 40 years. North Carolina, South Carolina, Massachusetts, California, just to name a few, have done it for a long time. And they didn't indicate that there was a problem with migration. I mean, anything can happen. You can't 100% in anything, but they haven't had a problem with it the last 30, 40 years they've been doing it. Just trying to think, I didn't bring the notes with me. I took pictures, but, so, yeah, I would just, I was gonna make phone calls, but I didn't get to the phone calls. I was gonna call some of the places that did it and inquire. So I think that, I would like to see the staff, do a deep dive into this and really study it. I'd like more information on it, and I'm going to pursue more information on my own on this. So, but I definitely think it's something that we need to, do more research on and, go from there and have it represented to us.
Thank you. Ms. Beatty?
From what I understand, and I believe, Cameron, you did share some information with us about the green burial, probably from Art. But my understanding was that there were trees involved in green burials. Is that not correct?
There do not have to be. That is, as I was saying earlier, green burials can be a wide range of approaches, and there are places that are very natural where there's not even designated cemetery plots. You maybe just have an open field, you do a burial, maybe you plant a tree. That's been done some places. We would not recommend that. That would be problematic for running a cemetery with traditional plots. That would not work well.
Okay, thank you. No, I'm just listening intently, so I'm good.
So are you leaning toward asking the staff to proceed?
Absolutely.
Okay. Mr. Hagedorn?
Preface my remarks by saying I'm also in that category. Cameron, has our maintenance department dealt with this issue in terms of, has there been problems at all with those burials that have been in the 1800s in terms of sinking of the soil or anything like that?
The older ones, the biggest challenge is proper location, making sure that as you might imagine, the accuracy of some of the burials was less so from 100+ years ago than it is today. So finding that things are maybe not exactly where you think they are is the biggest problem, but probably less from shifting. And so one thing to think about too, and we'll consider this as we look at the ordinance language, one aspect of green burials, sometimes they're not as deep as a full traditional burial, and that's where you may lead to some shifting and migration. If you're doing a full traditional burial next to a burial that's not as deep, you could have soil shift. So that's what we might want to look at and maybe require all burials at the same depth so that we can avoid that issue. But we've run into soil falling into, as you're digging a grave, we have to put up boards to keep the integrity of that site to make sure there's not cave-ins. We've not had that I'm aware of, a cave of someone's remains caving into that. So at least not in my time.
Good. The other question I had is, what about in the winter? Typically, sometimes the ground's frozen. How is that handled now in terms of the regular burials, and would that be a problem with green burials since there is, there's not any preservation?
Right. So the green burial, so we do winter burials. Some places don't. Some places keep if it's a full traditional burial, they'll keep the body either in a morgue or sometimes they have a mausoleum that they can keep them in. We will bury all year long, or we have in the past. So we will do winter burials. We have equipment that can dig through frozen ground. It is more work. It is more challenging for staff, especially when you have to remove snow just to locate where to dig. It is a bigger challenge, but it is something we're already doing. And then as far as a green burial, from the standpoint of our team's operations, that should have zero impact, but it does have an impact, I think, on the timeliness of the burial. And that obviously without any embalming fluid, you've got a much shorter window before you'll want to make the burial. And so that may lead to a little bit more urgency when we get the call to, okay, this has got to happen tomorrow or the next day, as opposed to we have maybe a week out. So that would put a little bit more time constraint on our staff, but outside of that, digging a burial in the winter, we do already.
And perhaps that could be solved in a way that, to charge a little bit more for a green burial for the idea that we may be using overtime or some such thing like that.
We already account for if it's a weekend. So if it's an overtime situation, that's already built into the structure.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Thank you.
Mr. Reminga?
Thank you. I think I can shed some light on this. About 11 years ago, I was handed I do business consulting, and I was handed this project. It was called Stonemore Properties. They go, oh, cool, property management. I love that. Well, that's not what it was. It was 5 cemeteries in West Michigan, and they were just a disaster from a morale standpoint specifically. The reason their policy was vaults is they made a hefty profit on it. So when someone comes in bereaved, in fact, that's how I met my beautiful wife. I actually hired her because she went to my church, and the thing that they trained her in was the vault was mandatory, and they charged just like an arm and a leg for that. And then the different ranges of caskets were in. You're right, it was about 10 grand for the econo package, and so that's why during the scamdemic, when people had COVID on their death certificate, that FEMA was trying to put that under the rug, and they were giving people 10 grand allowance because they didn't want any problems. If I refer back to Arlington National Cemetery, when that was founded, that was basically as a revenge deal against Robert E. Lee, whose property was on Arlington. So the general at the time, I think it was General Meigs, said, bury our soldiers in his backyard as an eternal reminder. And back during the Great War of the Rebellion, what they did is they basically rolled him into a pine box, buried him 6 feet, and that was pretty much the end of it. The volume between the top of the box and the top of the soldier is maybe 6 inches. So as time went on and that deteriorated, the collapsing or the sinking was not that much. If you go to little pioneer cemeteries around the area, like Cedar Springs or Greenville or whatever, you'll see like a little bit, but that was basically because, again, whoever the sexton was, I think that's what they called them, they dug the hole by hand and they put him in there. And the other thing was water tables. That was Stonemore's problem, is that they've got cemeteries all over the country. And the farther south and the closer you get to the Atlantic Ocean, they had to put them in concrete boxes because of flooding.
Board Chair, could we keep this conversation relevant, please?
Okay.
My point is that what Art wants to do, I think it's totally appropriate. I think it really is.
Thank you. Mr. McKellar?
I'd have to agree with Mr. Spalding on the ordinance. I reviewed the ordinance. It is quiet on some language, and a lot of language needs to be updated to meet today's standards. And I would support basically a full review of the whole ordinance, just to make sure it's the whole ordinance, not just the green burial, that regular burial, cremation, everything else that is done in our cemeteries is spelled out and easy for our staff to follow and easy for the public to also follow.
Thank you. Fortunately, I was the township clerk for 24 years, and that means that you manage the cemeteries in the sleet and snow and nice days. The biggest problem in cemetery management that I found in the beginning and worked on it for all those years is records management. And so you've all got great ideas. Cameron, in the MTA magazine, just maybe a couple months ago, there was an article about green burials. So that might be interesting too. But you've all touched on everything, and I'll agree to ask the staff to go ahead and proceed to prepare some sort of a report to the board, not necessarily endorsing or not endorsing the idea of the green burials. Just give us a report on the cemetery and any recommendations for any changes in the ordinance. Everybody okay with that?
Okay, thank you for that input, and with that, we will work on that and bring something back to the board in '26.
Wonderful. Thank you. And moving on to the next subject, we're going to consider the approval of the 5-year collective bargaining agreement with the Plainfield Township Municipal Employee Association. Mr. Cameron?
Thank you. We have two labor unions in this township. We have a firefighters union, and we have what is named the Plainfield Township Municipal Employees Union Association, and that is essentially our water staff and then our facilities management staff. Not any management positions in either department, but the folks that take care of the water treatment in our plant, that take care of the water distribution system, and then the folks that take care of our buildings, clear the snow from the walk so you guys could all walk up on dry. Hopefully it was dry. Hopefully the wind didn't cover it again. Dry sidewalks to get here. So our latest agreement with them expires at the end of this year. And so we've been working with them over the last few months to negotiate a new contract. So we have a new proposed new 5-year agreement to put in front of you. It's largely the same as what we've had in the past. We have made some modifications along the way. Some of it is cleanup of older, outdated language. Probably the biggest change really comes in terms of, from a compensation standpoint, is the use of incentives to encourage our staff to gain better, to increase their skill level, to incentivize those who want to go above and beyond. And so that's where any new compensation above and beyond what this last contract has had comes in the form of well, we already had something called a license bonus. If you're a water staff person, you have to be licensed to work in our water department by the state, but you can achieve a higher level of licensure. And so we would encourage them to do that and give them an incentive to do so. This is very much built along that line where those who are willing to go above and beyond, to expand their skills, to work harder than what is asked of them as a baseline, are compensated for doing that. So that's the big change in front of you. The rest of it is pretty close to what we've had over the last 5 years and really our last, probably the last decade of contract language.
Okay, thank you.
I'll take any questions.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the public who'd like to address the board on this specific item? Okay, we'll close the public comment and board discussion. Mr. McKellar.
Cameron, I think you explained the contents of the contract well in your memo. Just with the licensure, is it a bonus that they get, or is it an hourly increase?
It would be a bonus, and if I pull up let's see how fast, oh, that was faster than I thought it would be. So if we go to the last two pages of the contract, this is what we're changing. We had this license bonus, this F1, F2, S1, S2, S3. That's for our water staff. That's a license bonus structure that we had in place. We're adding and expanding so that our facilities management staff also have an opportunity. We're also looking to encourage staff members to take on some of these programs that really are helping us train our next leaders. We have, as you're well aware, we have some management in our water department that have been here for a number of years and are probably going to retire at some point. Although Don Petrovich, I won't put a...
More than 40 years.
He's targeting 50 years with the township.
Oh, my goodness.
They will retire at some point, and then who's going to come up and take their place? So we are encouraging staff to attend leadership and asset management programs to gain better skill set there, and so that hopefully we have a good pool of candidates to choose from, either internal or external when the time comes, but that we have internal candidates that may be ready to take over some of those positions when the time comes.
Thank you.
More questions? Mr. Reminga?
Yeah, I think this is fantastic. Are these licenses, are these LARA, State of Michigan LARA licenses, or are these, how are they administered? Is it,
It depends on the type of license. So the water licenses actually come through Eagle.
okay?
So that would be like the F1, 2, 3. Those licenses are actually through Eagle, and you have to have one to be an water operator. We don't have, there's actually a fourth level. That's the base level. That they have to have that to be employed here, to work in our water staff. This is encouraging them to gain skills above and beyond that and to expand their skills, but that's done through Eagle. Most of the rest of these are not licensed necessarily through a state agency. There's various, so here's one for facilities management, certified playground safety inspector. That's not a state certification, that's a different outside organization that does that. And although this one, the Michigan Certified Pesticide, would be a state certification.
Any more questions? Mr. Hagedorn?
Yeah, I assumed that we didn't have a contract, and I did some research with other townships in Michigan, so the financial part of it. Pittsfield Township, Canton Township, Bloomfield Township, Cascade Township. They really are all over the place in terms of what they offer their employees. I became convinced, though, as I looked at those, that we're pretty comparable to other townships. It's hard to, sometimes you're talking apples and oranges. For instance, the retirements sometimes are different. Some have a mix of defined contribution or defined benefits, and it's difficult to say apples and apples, but I think we're pretty comparable in this.
Good, thank you. Mr. Pfaff?
I agree with, I like when people are paid more when they do more. So I like incentives like this.
Thank you.
I just always appreciate that Plainfield is pro-training. We're always wanting training for employees and for board members and all of us, so I appreciate that very much.
And is the training included in next year's budget? Or several years' budget?
Yeah, some of them don't require a whole lot. There may be like a license, so like these license bonuses. The training in and of itself is the materials that they go through on their own time and then take the test, and the test maybe it's $100 or something. It's not an exorbitant amount to get that license. Some of them do require a little bit more time. Some are free. The Asset Management Champions program is free. We've had a couple of our employees go through that already. So there are options that are free. Some do require a little bit of training. We have put in budget for training, just generally speaking anyway. So yes, we do have money in the budget for that.
Good. And Plainfield Township has always endorsed improving their skills, but we also now find different ways to go to the classes. I happened to walk into the fire department one day, and there they all were looking at a computer screen, and no one would pay any attention to me at all. And so they were very intense on what they were learning that day. But at the same time, we had something in the accounts payable about some people that went for, I think it was the management group, and they had 3 people go, maybe one day or something. Anyway, we are very in favor of education. We've got it budgeted, and I think that's a great addition to the nice change to the contract. Are there any more questions or discussions? A motion would be in order.
Make a motion for the approval of a new 5-year contract with the Plainfield Township Municipal Employees Association Collective Bargaining Unit as presented.
And a support
Support.
from Mr. Hagedorn. And the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Hagedorn.
Yes.
Mrs. Morrow.
Yes.
Mr. McKellar, yes. Mr. Pfaff.
Yes.
Mr. Emminga.
Yes.
And Ms. Beatty.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you very much. And moving on to the agenda, the superintendent's comments.
Okay, a couple things to update you. With the recent snowfalls, our facilities maintenance staff has experimented a couple different ways to clear the sidewalks along Plainfield Avenue. And I don't know if you've seen it, I've seen people using it, so they're probably appreciative that they're not walking through probably 2 feet of snow as the road commission throws that snow up on the bank. But there's a lot of challenges in doing that because you have areas where you'll have a sidewalk and then maybe, 3 or 4 feet of grass before something else. Other areas where the parking lot comes right up to it. So it takes a variety of approaches for our staff to clear the snow. You can't necessarily push it all because there's so much that's being thrown from the road. Sometimes there's not a lot of place to push it. You can't necessarily throw it because I don't think the car dealerships are gonna love the idea of us throwing snow on the hoods of those vehicles. So I appreciate our staff doing that delicately and testing out different approaches to find a good approach to addressing that concern of a lot of businesses along there, trying to keep those sidewalks clear. Another new approach that we've taken for payments, you may recall a few months back you approved moving to a new online payment system called Pay It. It is up and running. We've already had 122 users pay their winter tax bill that way. So it's operating, residents are finding it. Any bugs we're working through right now, so appreciate staff getting that rolled out and coming up with a new way to make those payments. Part of moving to the system was simplicity, but also reducing some of the fees of making an online payment as well. So we were able to offer both options for our residents, and that will be rolling out for utility bills coming up soon as well. Okay, so that's not available right now for utility? Not for utility bills yet. That's the next piece that will be rolling out.
We should give a good thank you to the finance director for all the work putting this new Pay It online. Thank you very, very much.
Final item, fire chief is intending to bring to you a proposal for a new ladder truck after the first of the year, probably January okay, I'm getting a head nod. So January's board meeting, he's hoping to have a proposal to bring to you to replace our failing ladder truck. We have a really, really, really big roadblock right now, right? So we have a big engine that will drive out on the road. It can block a couple lanes of highway. It can throw water on a burning building, but that ladder won't elevate. So it's not a very useful piece of equipment right now. It's been in the shop more than it's been in the fire station in the past year. It's past time to replace it, and so he's gonna bring proposals. And really appreciate his effort to keep things as economical as possible. He's actually proposing something that might be a little bit smaller than what we have today to better fit our needs. So I don't want to steal too much of his presentation for next month, but you can anticipate him coming and talk to you about that next month.
So we all want to be present to hear this about this exciting thing, or is there a big, huge price tag attached to it?
Well, of course, there's a big price tag to it. That's,
Whether we come or not. Okay.
come with your checkbooks ready.
Oh, ready with the checkbooks.
Yep.
Thank you. Anything else?
That's all I have. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Yes, and board members' comments. Bob?
No, I appreciate everybody could make it, and we covered a lot of ground here, and I appreciate the input from everybody that got a chance to speak. I'm one of these that loves to hear, I get input in Myers and Family Fair all the time, but I love it when you come to meetings and express your views. I really appreciate it.
Kathy?
It's been a fast year, and that's a wrap. And so I appreciate my fellow board members and the work that we've done. I appreciate those that come and participate in these meetings and give their voice. Even though we don't respond, we are hearing you, and we do take note of what you say. And so appreciate your input, and Merry Christmas to all. Happy New Year, and we're going into 2026, whether we're ready or not.
Steve?
I agree with Kathy. It's been a quick year, but I really appreciate staff, department heads, Cameron, the board for all working together. The amount of information we get before a board meeting actually makes board meetings halfway smooth and easy, and a lot of the questions are answered, so I really appreciate that and really thank all the staff members and the board and Cameron for that information. Just like to say, everybody have a safe and happy holiday. See you next year.
Jack?
Yes, I'd like to comment on a comment. How's that? I am the one that waters his lawn at 55,000 gallons for every 3 months. I admit that. And as a matter of fact, my wife takes care of the water bill, and so I never see it. But when this issue came up of changing it to monthly and revising the rate structure, I borrowed my wife's water bill and took a look at it, and lo and behold, it was 55,000 gallons. And I did mention that at a board meeting with the idea of letting people know that the whole monthly bill is a good way of taking a look at how much water you're using and cutting down. And I do want to publicly tell you all I'm cutting down. I'm not going to spend as much water as I had before. But I wanted to make that public because I know that I think I've been misunderstood in that. I was not bragging at all in terms of the 55,000. I was just merely admitting something that I didn't know I had. The other thing that was mentioned during public comments was posting the agenda on Facebook. And I've started, as of the November board meeting, posting a link on on my own Facebook page, as I post on Northview, Belmont, Comstock Park, and there's one more. Rockford, no, it wasn't Rockford. Blythefield Acres. I've posted a link to the agenda for the board. So if you are a member of one of those 4, you will get my post for a link directly to the board agenda. So, and I think it was a good idea that somebody mentioned that it would be good to have that. And so if Plainfield doesn't do it, at least I'm doing it. Thank you.
Okay. Frank?
I just want to thank everyone, the staff, the board. We're very blessed in this township. And just to thank everybody that I work with.
Thank you. Tomorrow, I serve as the liaison from this board to the Plainfield Senior Advisory Board, and tomorrow at St. Jude's Church at 11:30, 250 seniors are going to have a Christmas luncheon and entertainment and everything. And it's sponsored predominantly by Northview, but that room is absolutely packed, and the Varsity Voices always come, and we appreciate that. We appreciate the cooperation between the township and Northview schools. Also, when we think about agendas, although all of us are looking for them very eagerly on Thursdays, one of the reasons that we look for them eagerly is that some of them end up like this one did with 139 pages. And that's a lot of homework to do over the weekend, but we all do it in order to come in here. And I think that sometimes people ask us the same question over and over, and we are working on things or putting things on an agenda that it's an enormous task. The weekend before a board meeting is homework weekend for sure. And I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas, and Happy New Year too. And are any other comments? Then the meeting's adjourned.